So next we're going to get into some interesting plot holes and inconsistencies. One of the ones that I found while I was watching some YouTube videos was talking about, I'll just read it's a YouTube comment, I'll put it up on the screen, but it says, I admit I also didn't find some of the dialogue realistic enough. The way Mrs. Weasley asks, which platform is it again? And Ginny says 9 3/4. Makes a totally cheap way to inform the reader that they are witches. Realistically, would Mrs. Weasley really forget the number of platforms if she herself visited Hogwarts 7 years plus? Plus, she has 5 kids who have already been visiting Hogwarts for years. I don't think so. I don't know, which just points out one of the examples of some just unrealistic dialogue, which is pretty interesting because even though Harry Potter, it's pretty much agreed upon that at least the first book and some of the rest of the series, if not all of it, is not the best written, but simultaneously it's the best selling book series of all time. And people are why is that? Why aren't better written books more popular? And some of it has to do with when it was written, I guess, and just how things happen to go down. But then also, it's interesting because Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone / Philosopher's Stone was actually the first book that J.K. Rowling wrote. So it was her first kind of try at all of this, which is just pretty interesting, and it kind of explains why some of it could use some help. Anyway, getting back into mistakes and inconsistencies, one of the biggest ones that people point out in, videos and research that I saw was rules about using magic outside of school, in front of muggles and that sort of thing, because, what about Hermione? Her parents are both muggles. Muggles aren't supposed to know about magic. How does that work? What do they, where do they tell people she goes to school? Are they supposed to lie for her? Just them knowing about it's against the rules, but I guess they just don't tell other muggles. And then obviously, the people who Harry lives with, they know, but they don't want to tell anyone because they're ashamed, which kind of solves the problem a little bit, but not really. And then what if you're born to magical parents, but magical parents just sounds funny. Then why aren't you allowed to use magic? The Weasleys, for example. Why can't? I guess it makes sense that you wouldn't want them messing around with stuff and really hurting something, but it seems kind of I heard the illustration used it'd be living in a house with plumbing and electricity but not being able to use it. It just doesn't really make sense. And then there are scenes that really don't make sense, where Petunia Dursley, in the scene where they're out on the rock to escape all the letters in the beginning of the book, she talks about how Harry's mom, her sister, used magic she was constantly using magic to turn teacups into toads when she came back for summer break, which is well, she couldn't do that because there's a rule against that from the Ministry of Magic, so it doesn't make sense. But I did think of some possible explanations for this. Maybe the rule wasn't in place before Harry became a wizard, or back when his parents were wizards at Hogwarts, maybe just rules like that didn't exist and it was something new that the Ministry of Magic had put in place. So I don't know, there could be explanations for it. I put the Footloose situation is plausible, kind of a situation where something really bad happens and they put in unnecessary rules for it, in Footloose or whatever. Some kids die coming back from a dance, and so then they outlaw dancing. Could be the same with wizarding and magic and stuff. Something really bad happens with wizards, and then they're oh, we need to make a rule about underage wizardry. But I think the bigger issue there is how muggles don't find out about wizards. Ooh, one of the biggest ones is Harry shakes Quirrell's hand early in the book when he first meets him in that tavern or whatever it's called. name escapes me. But anyway, when Harry first meets Quirrell, he shakes his hand. Then in the end, to kill him, he just touches him, like grabs him. So how does that work? Anyway, I don't know. There's some explanations for this, like Harry or Quirrell had not yet like bonded his soul to Voldemort, so Harry touching him wouldn't have hurt him, which that seems pretty plausible. And it also doesn't say that he was necessarily wearing the turban, so there might be evidence to support that. How poorly protected the third floor corridor is. Hermione just opens it with like a unlocking charm. Dang, what is that one? I forget what it's called. Anyway, it's obviously not very well protected because some first years get into it. And this one's pretty funny. Ron has a rat, even though it's not one of the allowed pets, which are owl, cat, or frog. No explanation for that. There's just like generally things that don't make sense that are kind of annoying, like the whole Hagrid having the dragon and then the kids like getting people to come in on brooms to take it away, like some of Percy's friends, I want to say. I forget which Weasley. I forget which Weasley it was. But anyway, first of all, they fly in, which apparently you can't do because there's charms on the place, which it says in one of the later books. So that's kind of conflicting. But then also, like, they're helping out Hagrid when they literally could just, like, Hagrid could deal with the problem himself and, like, take the dragon for them to take it away, or like they could have just come clean to Dumbledore and like he would have helped out and they wouldn't have gotten in trouble, but like they didn't say anything. And there's so many situations like this in Harry Potter where like if they would have just told one of the professors the truth and the professors would have listened, then they could have like avoided all of this. And perhaps one of the biggest questions about the first book is like, why did Harry even need to confront like Quirrell / Voldemort? Because like Dumbledore totally could have taken him out, and Dumbledore's like away, I guess, at the Ministry of Magic or whatever, but he like could have apparated back if he knows all that's like going on. He literally could have just come back and like taken him out. It's not like a plot hole because obviously it's just like not what happened, but there are just some things that don't quite add up, which are just interesting to analyze. It's not like, oh, this book is horrible because it's not perfectly consistent, but just some thoughts. Other random information, differences between movies and books. There's some like random kind of minor things, like Peeves wasn't in the movies, one of the ghosts who like does all this mischievous stuff. Snape is actually evil. Holy cow. You don't realize this like watching the movies. Like you think, oh yeah, he's kind of a grouchy old annoying teacher, but like in the books, holy cow, he takes away points from them like every 3 pages, and it's like literally, oh, like you looked mean, I'm gonna take points away from you. It's ridiculous, and it makes you understand why they would like suspect him of being the bad guy. Please tell me I'm recording audio for this. Okay, cool. I am. Where were we? Oh yeah, Snape and his first class jerk mentality. Oh yeah, another thing that I just kind of noted, the Dursleys are like legitimately abusive. Like they regularly like starve Harry. Like he was like, no food or whatever, and like stay in your cupboard, and like they actually treat him like a piece of garbage. And I just didn't realize this from the movies. I was like, okay, they resent him, and obviously like if he lives in this little cupboard, not the best situation, but like they legitimately hate him and treat him like crap. Yeah. Final thoughts. So one of the things that I was thinking about as I was reading the book is like, how is the book for children? Not like how is it for children, but like as a child reading this, what is the experience like? Is it a good thing to read for kids? There's kind of this weird thing with like where I lived growing up in the South. People were like, oh, we don't want kids to read that. It's got witchcraft and stuff, which I think is kind of silly. But it's interesting because I think that like some of the weirder and like more disturbing parts of it are like how violent it is. Like just random things happen in it that are like, whoa, that seems like PG-13. I mean, not in that way, but like just some weird and violent stuff that could be disturbing to me as a kid. I don't know, not that kids should be totally sheltered or something, but I really didn't think the whole like witchcraft thing is the most offensive part of it or whatever. One of the interesting things that I saw on my SparkNotes journey was they were kind of talking about like the point system of the houses and how that whole thing works. And they're saying it's almost like a sense of morality, and I thought it was a really interesting point because like it is weirdly religious. Like you get penalized for doing bad things and you get rewarded for doing good things, so it's like kind of a karma system. But then it differs from that a little bit in that like you get points for achievements like winning Quidditch cups and that kind of thing, or a cup, I don't know, winning Quidditch tournaments for the year, whatever. So like that is valued as much as just like your good character or good things you've done, which they're saying like harkens back to some kind of like Greek religious thing where you like worshipped the gods and did good things, but then you were also praised for your like feats of strength and athleticism or something, which I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. Oh yeah, one more thing I want to talk about, like why have the books and movies been so wildly successful? That's just a question that I keep coming back to, and I think one of the reasons why is Harry Potter, he embodies this feeling and longing that people have to be famous and be like the chosen one, if that makes sense. And we all wish we had secret powers. Like if I could just have a wand to do whatever cool spells, like that would be dope. I don't know. So I think that's like one of the really big appeals to it. And I think just the story is good because it's got like that mystery to it, and it's got good characters. The writing isn't always the best, but like the story kind of shines through that. And also in my research, I kind of found that people were saying that it came at the right time. Like back in the 90s, people would just hop on random obsessions and like just go with it and like go ham. And I don't know, I guess we still do that to some extent for sure, but it was like a time when all you needed was kind of like a good idea and a really good story for people to latch on to. And I think obviously that's what happened. Cool, I think that's all I've got for now.